Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks indeed for joining me in this edition of the news on ETV. The bill on the standing order of the Senate was this afternoon adopted at the hemicycle of Ngwaikili by members of the upper house of parliament. And also in this newscast, inhabitants of Mboko, a locality in the Douala-Free municipality here in the littoral region, say that 2 weeks is enough to go without electricity. Plus, the African Union is celebrating its golden jubilee, and some political analysts here in the economic capital Douala are saying that the union has failed in the achievement of some of its major objectives. Good evening once again, viewers. We thank you so much for joining us tonight. Election of the new Fecafoot president comes up tomorrow, Saturday. That is at the weekend, and angry football supporters stormed the Fecafoot office, that is the headquarters of Fecafoot in Yaoundé Central region of the country, demanding that Iya Mohamed should step down as one of the presidents of the Cameroonian Football Federation. A Yaoundé-based correspondent Roland Akon tells us more in the following report.
An angry group of football supporters claiming to be presidents of amateur football in Cameroon stormed the Yaoundé head office of Fecafoot Friday to demand that Iya Mohamed, Fecafoot's president, should not stand again as president of the federation in an election of the federation in Yaoundé Saturday. They are accusing Iya Mohamed of poor management of football in Cameroon. Most persons in the group come from Douala, and they were joined by other anti-Iya supporters in Yaoundé. They are planning to block the elections of Fecafoot tomorrow in Yaoundé. Their action was quashed by security forces.
That is prior to or less than 24 hours to the elections of the new president of Fecafoot. And for Hansen Chanji, the following report, which comes up next, looks at the profile of the three contenders of the president of Fecafoot.
Incumbent Iya Mohamed, in his 50s, is a candidate of his own succession, widely criticized for a chaotic management of football in the country, and a recent decision by the Supreme State Audit to suspend him from any managerial position in Cameroon seemed to have given him an added impetus not to give up the fight at the level of the federation. Iya Mohamed is seen by his supporters as their natural candidate. He ascended at the helm of the Cameroon Football Federation in 1998. Under his reign, Cameroon has won 2 Nations Cup, 1 Olympic Games in 2000. They have reached the finals of the Confederations Cup in 2003 and the finals of the 2008 Nations Cup in Ghana. Things became sour for Iya Mohamed after the 2010 World Cup debacle in South Africa and the recurrent talk of war with Lions team captain Samuel Eto'o. Reasons why critics have argued that Iya Mohamed should leave the stage while the audience are still clapping. His main challenger, John Beginning, first vice president of Fecafoot and former minister of transport, represent a majority of pundits who think it is time to turn the tide for an Anglophone to head the federation. He is from the northwest region and no fox in the running of football activities. John Beginning was part of 5 persons who supported the government of Cameroon in their quest to suspend elections into Fecafoot decentralized leagues. He has fought endlessly for the candidature of Iya Mohamed to be rejected, but to no avail. The third and last candidate entering the stage is Kadima Lengenvutu. In her 30s, she seemed to have a stronghold in the South region. Voted recently as regional league president of the South, Malengenvutu has worked at the marketing department of CRTV. Born in 1982, the lone female candidate has promised reforms if elected into office. Among others, she has promised to create a television channel for Fecafoot to publicize its activities. She has also promised a professional football league for the female football if elected. All roads now lead to Fecafoot House as the 3 candidates, Iya Mohamed, John Beginning, and Kadima Lengenvutu, continue to strategize for a success in the elections previewed this Saturday, May 25, 2013.
For Hansen Chanji, ending the report now, inhabitants of Mboko, a locality here in the Douala Free area, today went on rampage denouncing 2 weeks of absence of electricity. They reportedly blocked the car of officials of AESONL, and Staff Lady Annabila in the following report tells us how the population has been coping in the midst of the crisis. These disgruntled inhabitants of Mboko, a locality around the village neighborhoods on the outskirts of Douala, are furious after staying in the dark for several days now. The complaint says this AESONL transformer got burnt, and since then, all their cows and price have been falling on deaf ears.
C'est quoi t'as un disjoncteur for AESONL? Now 2 weeks now, we will not get light.
This AESONL equipment got bad about 2 weeks ago, and since then we have had no light. We have called them several times. I called, they said they would come, but they never came. We have their number, but when we try, they never come.
All day, one time when you call them, they know you're green for camp. They also tell you saying that you come, but they know you come.
Parents complain that their children who are in examination classes find it very hard studying with hurricane lamps.
Nous avons les enfants qui préparent les examens depuis une semaine et plus.
Business persons are also seriously affected by the situation.
Le poisson qui était au frigo, la crème que je vends, c'est tout pourri.
This woman says all her perishable products for sale have all gone bad. This cabbage belongs to AESONL was blocked, and the workers have been obliged to restore electricity in Boko before they could be liberated. At press time, there was still tension here as AESONL team was reinforced from their head office for the situation to be brought under control. Still here in the economic capital Douala, but precisely in Bonaberry, work was partially paralyzed at the AESONL after angry locals prevented workers of AESONL from getting into their offices. The population was protesting against the absence of electricity, and they are saying that they have been for over 4 days now without power, and AESONL officials, however, calmed the angry locals, promising to reinstate energy before the end of today. We shall be coming back to that in our subsequent newscast. We take you now to Bui Division, a locality in the northwest region of the country where locals say moving from Kumbo to Mbiame is a veritable nightmare. Farmers are complaining that they find it difficult transporting farm produce to the market due to the bad state of the road. And Abamenda-based correspondent from Kenneth, the following report tells us that some commuters spent even 3 days just to get to their destinations. His report.
Vinsop Division, Bui Division in the Northwest region, is known to be the breadbasket of Bui Division and the Northwest region in Cameroon. But today, the state of roads from Kumbu to Mbiame is a nightmare. Needless talking about farm to market roads in that subdivision, known as Mven subdivision. A subdivision that can boast of the cultivation of food crops like Irish potatoes, maize, beans, palm oil, rice, and improved cassava. A neighboring village from Biame to Mbonso, where rice is grown and palm oil produced. Using a bike takes you hours, not to talk of using a vehicle, which you will pass through Nkum subdivision, Kumbu, down and through parts of Ndu before arriving in Bonso, a distance of about 35 kilometers from Biame to Bonso. What about Lip, another neighboring village in that subdivision, where plans are on the way to link Biame to the west region through Lip to Fumba?
If farmers produce, they have to get their produce to the market. And if we don't have roads,
if these sand diggers can spend close to 3 days before reaching their destinations to Mbiame, then something is wrong somewhere, somehow.
Come for here, so it will be easy. Now almost 3 days we don't make for here. Day and night we do for here. Same they renew the route back, they fix them again.
Meantime, members of the Upper House of Parliament this afternoon adopted the bill on the standing orders of the Senate. They were at the hemicycle in Guayaquil in Yaoundé Central region of the country, and the bill is due to be forwarded to the President of the Republic for enactment into law. Our Yaoundé-based correspondent Roland Akong tells us more in the following report.
After reading a report of the 25 senators who worked on the bill, 7 senators raised a few issues concerning the bill. 3 senators were appointed by the elder senator to address their worries. Their worries were at the level of the form: omission of punctuation marks, spelling errors, and misinterpretation of the bill. The content of the bill was okay, and the bill was adopted without any objection. The bill will be promulgated into law by the head of state, paving the way for the putting in place of the Permanent Bureau of the Senate as provided by the bill. The Permanent Bureau of the Senate shall comprise 1 president, 1 senior vice president, 4 vice presidents, 3 quaestors, and 8 secretaries.
We come back to the cultural evening showcasing the choreography, or the rich choreography of the Egyptian Aswan group, as well as the Cameroonian National Ballet, which took place in Yaoundé Central region of the country yesterday. The Minister of Culture and also Egyptian ambassador, as well as some top government officials, witnessed the ceremony, as Roland Akon tells us once again in the following report.
Le mariage, dans la pure tradition égyptienne, porté sur la scène du Centre culturel camerounais, une danse traditionnelle inspirée des jeux d'enfants ou encore les déhanchements du groupe Ekan Immortel. Des images parmi les nombreuses chorégraphies offertes au public par le Ballet national du Cameroun et la troupe artistique égyptienne.
Cultural evening showcasing the rich choreography by the Egyptian Aswan group, as well as the Cameroonian National Ballet, which took place yesterday in the central region of the country. We apologize sincerely for that mix-up. We surely shall be coming back to that in our subsequent newscast. Now we take a look back at the National Day celebration precisely at Mbiame, a locality still in the northwest region of the country, which took place on May 20th in the country. And the colorful ceremony saw the participation of political parties, civilians, as well as pupils and students, as Fon Kenneth, a Bamenda-based correspondent, tells us in the report up next.
The occasion took place at the newly constructed grandstand of Mbiame by Mayor Fonyoy Bensa Fidelis, and was presided at by the Joe from Ven Subdivision, Mr. Wuchu Samuel, who was quite satisfied with the celebration.
Every year we leave the place satisfied. I think today I'm satisfied with the activities, and I think
a celebration that saw a colorful display and march past by the pupils of some institutions, with the Muslim pupils of the Anglo-Arabic schools and some government colleges marching separately in their various clubs and departments, with the CPDM taking the lead, followed by the Social Democratic Front, the SCF. It should be noted equally that the Mbiame Council is a CPDM council, with Mayor Fonyoy Bensa Fidelis, who expressed his satisfaction.
You can see for yourself that the mobilization has been very, very, very strong, and I can only be very satisfied. And particularly the National Day, you see the joy in the people of Mbiame, and just to tell the whole nation that we are truly Cameroonians and we are proud to be.
Dr. Lula Perpetual of the University of Bamenda handed some sporting equipments worth over 400,000 francs to some football clubs of that subdivision.
I sort of perceive sports as a platform for youth, and we have youth here who are often very distracted. They go astray, they get engaged in dirty habits like smoking, drinking, distracting themselves from major goals, from target goals, from things that can.
And the African Union, created in the year 1963, would be 50 euros tomorrow, and the union made of over 50 members or 50 African states seeks to promote an integrated, prosperous and peaceful Africa. What are political analysts here in the economic capital Douala saying? They believe or they are thinking that the continent is far from achieving the much desired unity that the African Union stands for, and some have so far attributed the situation on the egocentric nature of some African states as well as their leaders. Babla Jonathan tells us more in the following report.
50 years after the creation of the Organization for African Unity, which later became the African Union, some political analysts say the continent is still far from achieving the purpose of this institution. The president of La Dynamique political party in Cameroon, Albert Zonga, holds the opinion that the vision of founding fathers has been abandoned.
L'idée des pères fondateurs.
The idea of founding fathers was betrayed. They were thinking to get to a total unity of the African continent, but this has remained dead and even far from political will of those governing today.
De la volonté de ceux qui gouvernent aujourd'hui.
He further attributes the situation to what he calls the greedy attitude of African states and their leaders.
L'égoïsme des États.
The greed of states and their leaders has made it in such a way that each state discovering petrol on its territory becomes self-centered, and Cameroon, that was the power source of unity in Africa, has gradually stayed away from meetings of heads of state and has lost its position.
Fini par disparaître.
To him, unity has never existed on the African continent.
L'Union n'a pas 50 ans, elle n'a jamais existé.
In the same vein, Mbouama Sok, a political activist, points out that the road to African unity is still long.
Le chemin vers l'unité africaine, vers la
The road to the materialization and consolidation of African unity is yet to come.
est encore à venir.
He believes that upholding the ideology of Pan-Africanism can sail the continent to the United States of Africa.
Political analysts there believing that the much desired unity that the African Union was created for is still a far-fetched idea. Viewers, that does it for this edition of the news on Equinox Television. We thank you so much for your keen attention. Have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs and also a blessed weekend.